Imagine a state so ambitious, it promised voters a 220-mile-per-hour bullet train, whisking you from San Francisco to Los Angeles in less than 3 hours, all for $33 billion and ready by 2020. In 2008, over half of Californians said yes, pouring nearly $10 billion in bonds into a dream of American high-speed rail. But 17 years later, with $14.4 billion already spent, just 119 miles of track cut through farmland, and the finish line is nowhere in sight. This is the story behind California Wants High-Speed Rail. But there's a catch. Because what happened between that audacious promise and today? The answer reveals far more than missed deadlines. The year is 2008. California stands at a crossroads, electrified by the promise of something never before attempted in the United States. A true high-speed rail network, stretching nearly 500 miles from San Francisco to Los Angeles. Proposition 1A appears on the ballot, offering voters a clear pitch: $9.95 billion in state bonds to seed a new era of transportation. The numbers are ambitious. The price tag, $33 billion. The timeline, trains running by 2020. The pledge, a sleek electric train racing between the Bay Area and Los Angeles in just 2 hours and 40 minutes, faster than most commercial flights door to door. On Election Day, 52.6% of Californians say yes. The margin is narrow, but the mandate is unmistakable. The California High-Speed Rail Authority is tasked with turning this vision into reality. The system blueprint calls for dedicated high-speed tracks, speeds topping 220 miles per hour, and a route designed to serve both major cities and the agricultural heartland of the Central Valley. Planners tout economic growth, cleaner air, and a new backbone for the state's future. Ballot materials promise strict oversight, no taxpayer money for cost overruns, independent audits, and clear guarantees on travel times and station stops. The project is sold as both practical and transformative, a leap into the future that will redefine how Californians live, work, and travel. For a moment, the state seems united by optimism, ready to build the fastest passenger train in the Americas. The dream is officially launched, propelled by the faith that California can deliver what the rest of the country has only imagined. 17 years and $14.4 billion later, the landscape looks very different from what voters were promised. Instead of a statewide network, construction is limited to a single stretch: 119 miles of graded earth and concrete structures in the Central Valley. The only segment with a clear path forward runs between Merced and Bakersfield, a corridor that cuts through farmland and bypasses the state's largest cities. The cost to build just this initial operating segment has soared to between $28 and $38.5 billion, already eclipsing the entire budget pitched to voters for the full system. For that price, the project expects to deliver 171 miles of track and a maximum speed of 220 miles per hour. The fastest trains in the Americas, but far from the coast-to-coast reach once envisioned. Ridership projections have been revised downward. The latest estimates suggest between 1.6 and 2.2 million annual riders, a fraction of what was once forecast, and nowhere near the volume needed to cover operating costs. Revenue is projected at less than $1 million per year, while annual operating expenses are expected to top $120 million. Track laying is not expected to begin until 2026. The new target for limited passenger service is 2031 at the earliest, but only for the Central Valley. The promise of high-speed trains linking San Francisco and Los Angeles remains out of reach, with no funding in place for the connections that would make the system whole. The numbers tell a story of runaway spending. In 2008, California's high-speed rail was pitched at $33 billion for nearly 500 miles. 4 years later, the official estimate doubled to $68 billion. By 2018, it reached $77 billion. The latest projections? Between $89 and $128 billion, with only a fraction of the original system even planned for construction. Each mile of track in the Central Valley now costs over $200 million, more than 4 times the average in France or Spain, and even higher than China's most challenging routes. Behind these figures lies a maze of legal and administrative hurdles. Land acquisition in California routinely drags through protracted negotiations and lawsuits, driving right-of-way costs as high as $15 million per mile. Environmental reviews and mitigation, governed by the state's CEQA law, add millions more for each mile and can stall progress for years. Every delay pushes up labor and material costs, while contractors file change orders and legal claims that add tens of millions to the final bill. Independent auditors and project lawyers warn that, unlike in Europe or Asia, the combination of fragmented oversight, litigation, and scope changes makes true cost control nearly impossible. The budget is no longer a target. It's a moving finish line, receding with every new obstacle. Construction crews broke ground in California's Central Valley in January 2015, launching what was supposed to be the backbone of American high-speed rail. A decade later, the landscape is dotted with 84 massive structures, concrete viaducts, highway overpasses, and bridge abutments, stretching across farmland from Madera to Bakersfield. Civil work is now projected to finish in December 2026. But the rails themselves won't be installed until late that year at the earliest. Progress on the ground has collided head-on with California's unique geology and regulatory terrain. The planned route demands a 13.5-mile tunnel beneath the Pacheco Pass, linking the Bay Area to the Central Valley through fractured rock and active fault lines. Engineers face the daunting task of boring through unstable geology, managing water inflows, and building seismic reinforcements that can withstand major earthquakes. To the south, the Tehachapi Crossing presents its own challenge, a 2.8% grade through the mountains, steep by global high-speed rail standards, and a direct crossing of the San Andreas Fault. Every new technical hurdle means more time, more money, and more risk that the project's already fragile funding could unravel before a single passenger boards a train. In 2019, the Trump administration moved to claw back $3.5 billion in federal high-speed rail grants, citing a lack of progress and missed construction deadlines. The state fought the effort in court, and a settlement under the Biden administration restored much of the funding. But the warning was clear. Washington's patience was running thin. By 2025, the future of federal support hangs in the balance, with lawmakers on Capitol Hill demanding proof that California can deliver more than just bridges and empty viaducts. House oversight hearings amplify the pressure, grilling project leaders on every dollar spent and every missed milestone. The threat of federal disengagement becomes existential. Without a stable partnership in Washington, the promise of a true high-speed rail network risks collapsing under the weight of its own ambition. In Sacramento, the debate has shifted from grand visions to hard arithmetic. Governor Newsom's proposal to commit $1 billion a year faces growing resistance from lawmakers who question the wisdom of pouring more money into a project that continues to run deep deficits. Legislative hearings are dominated by budget analysts warning that even the most optimistic ridership projections leave a $120 million annual shortfall, revenue nowhere near covering operating expenses. Public confidence has eroded. According to a 2023 statewide poll, 56% of Californians now oppose continuing the project. Supporters argue the Central Valley line will spur economic growth, but critics see a train to nowhere, draining resources from schools, roads, and other priorities. The once unifying promise of high-speed rail has fractured into a battle over competing visions for California's future, with no clear consensus in sight. California's high-speed rail now faces 3 official futures. The first, finish only the Merced to Bakersfield stretch for $36.75 billion, carrying just 1.6 to 2.2 million riders a year. The second, extend north to Gilroy, linking with Caltrain at a cost of $54.4 billion by 2038. The third, push south to Palmdale and the edge of Los Angeles for $87.1 billion, with no set completion date. But these numbers exist in a vacuum. Since 2008, China has built over 46,000 kilometers of high-speed rail, enough to cross the United States coast to coast more than 10 times. While California debates a single rural corridor, the rest of the world builds entire networks in less time and for a fraction of the cost. The gap is not just financial, it's existential. In 2008, California voters approved nearly $10 billion in bonds for a 494-mile high-speed rail system, expecting trains between San Francisco and Los Angeles by 2020. As of 2025, $14.4 billion has been spent, but only 119 miles are under construction, all in the Central Valley. The projected cost for the full route has soared to as much as $128 billion, and even the first operating segment faces a significant annual deficit. Key engineering hurdles remain unresolved, and federal support has been repeatedly withdrawn and reinstated. Despite over a decade of effort, the project is still far from its original promise, with no operational service connecting major cities. Major questions remain about future funding, the project's ultimate scope, and whether California can overcome its political and technical obstacles. For now, the gap between vision and reality stands as one of the defining facts of American infrastructure in the 21st century.